Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing, checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So, Frank the Ghost Martin is having his first main event fight this Saturday on Showtime, July 15th. He's going to be fighting in a WBC title eliminator versus Artem Harutyunyan. I believe that's how you pronounce the young man's name, who's going to be the opponent of Frank Martin on July 15th. Now, this fight, though the opponent for Frank Martin in this fight, he's undefeated, 12-0 with 7 knockouts. Not a lot of fights. He's an older guy, 32 years old, with not a lot of fights. You could tell he started late, at least turned pro late. He's a guy from Germany. Pretty basic fighter. Don't bring a whole lot to the table as far as special effects or, any type of outrageous ability in the skills department, just to put it like that. Even though that's the case, this fight is a very meaningful and valuable fight for Frank Martin. Why? Well, number one, it's a title eliminator. The guy, Artem, he's been fighting in the WBC rankings and kind of working his way up for some time now. I believe he beat this guy, last name Molina. I forget his name. I think it was like Sergio Molina. I forget his first name, but he beat a guy for the WBC international title, which has continuously allowed him to work his way up to the rankings, which has positioned himself to fight in a title eliminator. Now, we all know that Shakur Stevenson is right now currently rated the number 1 guy in the WBC. Very valuable fight for Frank Martin because number one, it's his first main event, so he has an opportunity to put on a show as the main attraction under Man Down Promotions. We also have Alex Holly fighting on that card as well, newly signed Man Down Promotions fighter, and is going to be working with Al Heyman and the PBC. So that's dope as well. It's a full out Man Down Promotions event. So shout out to Earl Spence for putting on this card for Frank Martin. So you have that aspect of it, his first main event, first main attraction, and it's a title eliminator working his way up to his first title shot. Now, Shakur Stevenson being the number 1 guy, this puts Frank Martin, if he's victorious, which I think we all believe that he will be, not to slight his opponent, but if you look at the film from this guy, I've watched a fight and a half from him. If you look at the film watching this guy and you look at Frank Martin, you got to know who's going to come out on top. But anything can happen in this sport. So Frank Martin got to be sharp and he got to take care of business, which I expect nothing less because Frank Martin is currently in camp with Earl Spence right now in Vegas. They're preparing together. Ryan Garcia is in camp. He don't have a fight coming up, but Anthony Joshua is in camp. This guy is surrounded by greatness, and he's being coached by the best boxer in the sport, Derrick James. So I expect Frank Martin to be super sharp. He's in phenomenal shape right now. I think he's going to take care of business. But if he does that, it puts him in the direct line of fire, in the direct next position to be able to fight Shakur Stevenson for an actual WBC title shot, whether that's going to be versus Devin Haney, which I expect Devin Haney to move up to 140. He already offered Shakur Stevenson an offer with the 75-25. Shakur Stevenson turned it down. I did hear recently Shakur Stevenson has put in a bid to activate his mandatory position as the number 1 guy in the WBC rankings. And we'll see what that looks like. I'm pretty sure if they don't come back with the split that Devin Haney wants, that fight ain't going to happen. He going to end up moving up to 140. The belt's going to ultimately get vacated, which leaves the top 2 guys in each sanctioning body to fight for those titles. In the WBC sanctioning body, you're going to have Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. if Frank Martin is successful on July 15th. That is a big deal because you got two undefeated guys, two top talents and attractions in the division. Shakur Stevenson being a pound for pound talent, multi-division champion. Great fighter, southpaw. Frank Martin working his way up, building his profile. I think he can potentially be a pound for pound talent. Very skilled guy, very strong fighter, powerful hand speed, very disciplined fighter, got great fundamentals, got a great coach, great corner, great pedigree, surrounded by greatness. And that fight, in my opinion, is a match made in heaven. You got two guys who have very good balance as far as offense and defense. Very skilled, a lot of athleticism. I think Frank Martin is probably the more athletic guy, but Shakur Stevenson might have more. He definitely have more experience, but I think Shakur Stevenson might bring a different level of hand speed, timing, ring IQ. He's gonna bring some things that Frank Martin hasn't seen before on the pro level, which is gonna make that a very interesting matchup. Of course, I think Frank Martin is going to bring skills, time and speed, power, athleticism that Shakur Stevenson haven't seen under the lights on the pro level. We ain't talking about sparring and shit like that. We talking about guys you fought on your record at the pro level. Shakur Stevenson ain't fought nobody on Frank Martin level. You know what I'm saying? From my opinion, you could say, well, he fought Oscar Valdez. I think Frank Martin will smoke Oscar Valdez. You feel what I'm saying? And the same thing for Frank Martin. He ain't fought nobody on Shakur Stevenson level. So it would be, that's like a perfect scenario for a vacant title fight, because a lot of times you'll see vacant title fights where it's two guys who really ain't, they don't work their way up to be at the top of a sanctioning body, but they not necessarily considered the top guys in the division or in the sport for that matter. Or you might see one guy who is already a champion fighting in a unification match versus some unknown guy for a vacant title to add to his collection. This ain't that. This would be two top guys that bring everything that you're looking for as a boxing fan to the table in a vacant title shot. You know what I'm saying? A vacant title fight. So it'll be Shakur Stevenson's opportunity to win a title in his third division, and it'll be Frank Martin having an opportunity to win his first title in his career, and both guys are undefeated. So it's going to be a lot at stake, and I told y'all, Earl Spence and Frank Martin, they want that Shakur Stevenson fight. And what makes this fight a possibility, even though Shakur Stevenson is fighting with Top Rank under ESPN, and Frank Martin is fighting with the PBC and Showtime. The reason that what makes this fight a possibility is the fact that it's going to be a title eliminator. It's going to be ordered. It's going to be for a vacant title. It's going to be ordered by the WBC. Earl Spence got pulled to get that fight ordered once Frank Martin. I mean, he's already fighting in a title eliminator. It's already in play. They really ain't got to do shit. But Frank Martin, all he got to do is win. And Shakur just got to remain the number one guy in that sanctioning body under the WBC. Now, Lomachenko is still up there as well, but this fight right here is going to put Frank Martin at that number 2 spot to line him up with Shakur. What makes this fight a possibility, though, is the fact that it's going to get ordered by the WBC and it's going to go to purse bid if ESPN and Showtime and Top Rank and the PBC and Man Down Promotions, if they can't come up with a deal for these fighters to pay them what they want to get paid, or if they gonna work together or say, hey, no, ESPN, y'all take this one, or no, PBC, y'all take this one. If they can't come up with a deal like that, it's gonna go to purse bid, and whoever offers the best purse for these fighters, that's who gonna get to put on the fight. It's gonna be just like when Patrick Teixeira and Brian Castano fought for that WBO title. Of course, Patrick Teixeira being a Golden Boy fighter and Brian Castano being a PBC fighter, it went to a mandated situation where the WBO mandated that fight, and I believe the fight ended up going to purse bid. And I think DAZN ended up putting that fight on, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if DAZN did it or PBC did it, but that fight happened because it was mandated. So it ain't gonna be no way around that shit. Either they gonna etch out a deal and one of them gonna put it on, or they gonna do a conjunction. I highly doubt that, because I don't think the fight is gonna be big enough for them to work together and do it. I think either one of them gonna put it on, or it's gonna go to purse bid and somebody else gonna get it, or one of them gonna bid the highest for it and get to put on the fight. You know what I'm saying? From either side. But that fight is a big deal. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford want that fight. I remember when the fight was a hot topic after Frank Martin's last performance versus Michelle Rivera. Shakur Stevenson went on Twitter, said he's welcome. He would welcome that fight. He's open to that fight. So I think it's a match made in heaven. Two southpaws, two very skilled southpaws, two strong southpaws with a lot of ability. And this fight is important on Saturday for Frank Martin. He got to go out there, look spectacular, and get the victory. That's going to put even more pressure on the WBC to mandate that fight and let him get his opportunity versus Shakur Stevenson for that WBC title. Now, again, we got to see what Devin Haney do, because he's currently the undisputed champion at lightweight. But this fight right here, they on a crash collision. Shakur Stevenson and Frank Martin. They on a collision course. They gonna have to see each other. You know what I'm saying? They gonna have to see each other at some point. They gonna have to see each other. If Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson end up fighting for the titles, and Shakur Stevenson beat Devin Haney, Frank Martin gonna be right there. You know what I'm saying? Or if Devin Haney move up, vacate the titles, they gonna end up fighting for a vacant title. They gonna have to see each other. And I think that's a match made in heaven. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Number one, what do y'all think about Frank Martin's his matchup for this upcoming Saturday, July 15th fight versus Artem Harut Yunyan? You know what I'm saying? What y'all think about that matchup? What you think about his opponent? Do you think he got something? Have y'all seen some shit that I ain't seen? You know what I'm saying? And what you think about a potential fight between Frank Martin and Shakur Stevenson? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Contender Regime Boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.